So a few years ago, just before the pandemic, I did a daily challenge posting Sleight of Hand magic every day for a year. I called it Sleight 365. And during that, I came up with a few ideas for sleight of hand versions of some viral tricks that I'd seen during the time. One of them was I believe it originally went viral with, I believe it was Will Tsai doing a sort of gradual card vanish from the bottom up, and then that was eventually released by Nicholas Lawrence as the vanishing card, and I came up with a few different ways of doing sort of a sleight of hand version of that. And one of the other ones was the fun little idea of vanishing a pen or a pencil against your head. Now this was a silly idea because it seemed like the kind of thing that could only be done sort of on TikTok or sort of Instagram to the camera type of thing, because it relied on perspective and involved, sort of pushing apparently a pen or pencil into your forehead. And it was done by, just kind of, and this went kind of viral and people did it, and then it would kind of expose it. It was a fun little thing that you could do and use for your social media. But I wanted to come up with an idea for doing that sort of idea that a pen was sort of gradually vanishing, not necessarily going into my head, but vanishing sort of from one end to the other. And that was what eventually led to what you saw before, pushing the pen into the cap. So that was one of several pieces that I came up with over that challenge, trying to adapt viral, gimmicked, and or impractical ideas into things that were a little bit more practical. And I'll talk a little bit about that, but we'll get there in a second. We'll start going through actually a couple different ways. So I thought I'd start out by teaching you 5 different ways to vanish a pen. So the first way to vanish a pen that I'm going to teach you is a pretty straightforward technique called lapping. Before I show you how it's done, I'm going to show you how it looks. You have a pen or similar object on the table here. You come here, pick it up, make it vanish. Now this is often taught with a knife, like a butter knife, as a trick to do at like a dinner table. So you would have, for example, your butter knife laying on the table, and you would pick it up and then apparently eat the knife, swallowing it whole. As you know, there's nothing more appropriate at a dinner table than simulating shoving something deep into your esophagus. You can do the same thing with a pen. It would look like this. So it works with a knife and a pen just the same. Now, the technique's name seems to give it away. You take the object and you dump it in your lap. But there's a little bit more to it than that. A very common beginner mistake with lapping, I'll show you here with a smaller object, is to leave the thumb sticking out. They lap the object like this. And if you think about it, you can't pick something up off the table without using your thumb like that. If you were to do that, it would just wipe it off the table. So it's very key that the thumb pantomimes picking up the object. Now in the case of the pen or the knife, to use it as a convincer, you actually want them to see the thumbs at first up and then going behind the fingers. A convincer is just an additional little subtlety or action that helps convince the audience that what is supposed to be happening is what actually is happening. In this case, your thumbs are picking up the pencil or pen. So as I said, you come with your fingers straight like this, almost like you're making a football field, and then the fingertips overlap, because if you're like this, they'll still see what's actually happening. So your fingertips overlap, your thumbs come up and then come down as if to pick up the pen, but you keep them above the tables, so they're here. So you don't actually come down to the table with your thumbs, you keep them up. And then the fingers just push the pen off the edge of the table, okay? And you mime picking it up. So again, up to speed. And that's what it looks like. Now, you don't immediately bring the hands together. You want to keep the hands like this, with just the fingertips overlapping and the thumbs keep them behind, miming holding a pen. And so after a brief pause, you come up and you act like you're squishing the pen, flattening it into nothing, and then reveal the pen is gone. The second method is something a lot of people like to use as a gag, but can actually be used as a really powerful bit of magic, particularly when used in a longer routine. One of the great examples of this is Greg Wilson's routine, I believe it's called Recap, which involves repeated vanishes of the pen cap and the pen itself. Now, it's usually done by suggesting you're going to vanish an object in your hand using the pen as a magic wand. The easiest object in this case is to use the pen cap. So you place the pen cap in your hand, you say, watch, I'm going to make the pen cap disappear, which is 3 taps of the magic wand. 1, 2, 3. And on the third one, the pen or magic wand apparently disappears. After a pause of reaction, you then turn to reveal, no, it's just in my ear. The way you accomplish that is fairly straightforward. First, you have an object in your hand as misdirection, so the focus is here. You direct their focus with the pen by tapping, using it as a magic wand, further emphasizing where their attention should be. You condition them with an action of raising the pen and tapping the cap. Okay? Conditioning meaning getting them ready and used to that action. You do 1, 2, you notice every time my hand comes up right behind my ear. And it's not till the third one that I simply deposit the pen behind my ear and then come back down with nothing in my hand. But because each time I come up to the same spot, I know that my hand is going to be in the right spot, that I can go 1, 2, 3, and it's a fluid action, so there's no pause, there's no hesitation to leave the pen there. 1, 2, 3. And then you react, oh, where'd it go? You make sure that you keep the side that the pen is on turned away from your audience for a beat, okay? Because you don't want to reveal it too soon. You want to let that sit in and register as a vanish. And you go, what? Huh? And then you turn to the other side, acting puzzled, and you can let the audience respond and see it there, or you can go, oh, and call attention to it yourself. The third vanish is actually something published in 1940 in More Magic of the Hands 2, and is uncredited, I believe. This was originally taught with a cigar, and you would take the cigar, apparently, between your lip, and then take it and apparently swallow the cigar. So to do this, you would take your pen or cigar, and you would hold it between your thumb and index finger, and then you place the other tip between your mouth, between your lips, okay? And you apparently come up as if you're going to shove it down into your throat, but what you actually do is, here, you can even just use your chin or your fingers to lever it slowly down into the hand. But you don't just come up to the point that you're covering the mouth, you come up above your nose, again, like you're coming up, push it down into your mouth, again, like a sword swallow, okay? But in reality, no. You bring your hand down and hold the pen against your chest as you pat your stomach or your chest and burp as if you were, digesting. Now you can reproduce it by just reversing the action. Grab the pen here, act like you're going to burp, open your mouth, come in, and apparently pull the pen out of your mouth. Now that we've talked about that vanish, I want to revisit the original one that I had mentioned that inspired my slow motion vanish, and that was the one against the head. If we apply that 1940s cigar vanish to this, suddenly we can take this vanish and turn it from a gag into an actual vanish. And of course the method there is the exact same thing as the gag vanish, where you place the pen against your forehead and then with your fingers holding the other end just like the cigar vanish, and then watching the camera so you can get your angle straight, because if you go on an angle for this, it doesn't look good at all. You want to keep it perfectly straight, here we go, and then just go straight up, but then as soon as your hand gets to the point that it covers it, you're going to then, instead of turning sideways to reveal the gag, you're going to, and you notice with the glasses this actually interferes with it, I have to come forward a bit, but without glasses it's far simpler, okay? You come here, and then once you're at this point, you just let the pen fall down, and you actually push your finger all the way to your forehead. So again, you're here, you come up, you let the pen come down as your finger comes in, push against the head, and then the hand can come down, and there you go. Now one little note on the vanish on the head, if your pen has writing on it, you want to make sure that writing is turned towards you and away from the camera, because otherwise it's just a little bit of a detail that becomes a little bit, makes it kind of obvious what's happening, because they can see the writing and see that the writing is tilting as opposed to moving up into you as it would be if you were actually pushing it into you. So if you're going to do that, you want to make sure that it's facing you. And that is a way to take that viral gag vanish and apply that cigar vanish to turn it into an actual vanish. Now, the last vanish is the one that I came up with, like I said, during my Sleight 365, which was a way to take that sort of gag vanish and replicate a similar visual, but make it something that was practical and could actually be performed in real life. Now, you'll notice that with that gag vanish, it only works head on, right? Wrong. It works at any height in this plane. Now, if we take that plane and turn it this way, and instead of doing it this way, we turn it so that the pen is going this way, suddenly our viewing angles become a lot wider. One last time before I teach you how it works, I'll show you how it looks. You take the pen, you're going to push it into the cap until the pen is completely inside. And then you can reverse it and pull the cap or the pen back out of the cap. All right? Now, to accomplish that, you want to take your pen, hold it in both hands, and take off the cap. Now, once you've taken the cap off, you're going to rotate it between your fingers so that the clip that you use to clip the pen onto your pocket, for example, is on the bottom on your thumb side. You're holding it between your thumb and your index finger here. You're then going to take your middle finger and curl the tip around so that it covers the edge there. Okay, you can see that you can still see the opening here. Hold in front of the bat symbol so you get a better view, but the fingertip comes just in front of that, and that hides the fact that the pen will not actually be going into the cap. I know, it's not real magic. Now, the other thing to note is that I'm holding it such that the pen, you see this end here, is overlapping my index finger, the bottom of my index finger. It's not like this, overlapping the gap between my thumb and my index finger. It is overlapping the bottom of my index finger. Again, that's going to be important for how the actual vanish works in providing the cover, okay? So again, lip on the bottom, held between the thumb and the index finger, middle finger curled in front, and this end is overlapping the base of your index finger, not in the gap. Then you're going to take the pen, holding it in the same way as you did for the Cigar Vanish, and you're going to apparently put it into the cap. But instead of going into the cap, you're just going to lay it on that clip and then go behind the cap. And you're going to go into it at a slight angle, okay? Now, it's not as dramatic, it never gets as dramatic as the pen on the head gag, okay? But it is using the same principle. But again, because instead of doing it this way, we've turned it horizontally, your angles are much better. And you're going to use that lip, the clip there, to keep the pen straight so that you don't inadvertently have it going into the cap at an angle. So you go here, you mime putting it into the cap, and then you're going to push it behind your hand, okay? So from my angle, it's just doing this. It's basically riding along my index finger. And this is why, as I said before, you want to make sure that this end is lining up with the base of the index finger, because if I have it lining up with the gap here, you'll just see the pen right there pop out the other side. But if it goes behind the finger, you don't see it, okay? So, but like I said, you're holding it the same as the Cigar Vanish here, and you start pushing it in at an angle. As soon as you get to here, you've got about 1.5 inches, 2 inches left. The pen tip should be just at the base of your index finger knuckle here. And if you go any further, anybody to your far left is going to start seeing the pen coming out, okay? Now, as I said, because of the horizontal nature of this, you can see your angles left to right are still fairly good. If you go up and down, you might start to see the bending of it. So if you're performing, for kids and adults at the same time, or pen and teller, they might see. But most people tend to be approximately the same height at a decent distance. Once you get to this point where it's about to go past the end of your knuckle here and start popping out the other side, you're going to do that same move from the Cigar Vanish, except you're going to use the pen cap to lever the pen around. But that's done as you apparently push it the rest of the way into the cap. And then you clip it here, grab the clip, rotate the pen up, and then show this hand empty. And now you're holding the pen cap with the same hand that is holding out the pen. And this is the magic wand principle, where if your hand is doing something, people tend to assume it can only do one thing at once. If I'm holding the cap, they think, he's already holding something with that hand. It's less likely that he would be holding something in secret, okay? So you come here, you show this hand empty. You're going to come back, take the pen again into the exact same grip, and then just reverse the actions similar to producing the pen from your mouth. From here, if you just kind of pull with your index finger, you can reverse and pivot that, lining it up by just laying it on the lip there. Again, the clip. So you lay it on the clip, pivot it over, and then start pulling it back out, reversing the action. It looks like that. You pull the pen completely clear, and then come back and actually put it into the cap and show it ending completely clean. And that is 5 different ways to vanish a pen. All right, that's it for me this week. I hope you enjoyed that. If you like it, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss anything. I got more tips, tricks, and tutorials, and whatever else I've been doing recently. I'm talking about my Tourette's. I've been talking about recent performances and lessons learned, and like I said, tutorials. So, all right, we'll see you next week. Peace out.